What up? You know what it is. TrendsetterSense, Rhythm and Streets. We back at it again. I got my brother here. One of the reasons why this podcast is even functional, we are actually in this brother's facility right now, the world famous Ayetealle Restaurant. This man wears many hats. He is a singer. He is a CEO, an entrepreneur, a manager, a producer. But we're going to get to know him a little bit better and dive into how this man even got started. My brother right here, Jovan Dais.
What's good, my brother?
How you feeling, man?
Sense, Trendsetter. I'm good, man.
Hey.
I'm good. I'm happy to be. It's another day. We're above ground.
Yes.
Hey, so I'm happy. I'll be grateful every day I can get up.
Hey, man. Pleasure having you. Of course,
Thank you.
This is your beautiful establishment built by your hands.
Yes, sir. Me and my brothers, man. You know, it's funny. Me and I got two best friends that I met here in elementary schools, Scott and Debo.
Yeah.
And, it's funny that God put these guys so early in my life and that they are still so intricate to everything that I've ever envisioned.
That's crazy.
And I could never negate that these two guys, you know, it's like they have their strengths and we all have our strengths, but they really helped me so much, whether I was singing, making music, executive, and building this restaurant. We all been locked in.
That's crazy, man. We're going to get into, of course, this beautiful establishment, but let's go to the evolution of Jovan Dais. I know you from music days.
Yes.
When shout out my man Biddy.
Yep.
Cloud9. Yeah.
My brother.
Yeah.
Love Biddy.
He just texted me too. That's funny.
Love Biddy, man.
Your father was in the music business, correct?
Correct.
Okay, tell me.
So my understanding of music business primarily comes from my father. My father was a manager in the music industry, and then he became an executive as well.
Okay.
He had a Latin singing group called the Barrio Boys.
Wow.
Or like they say, the Barrio Boys, out of the Bronx.
Okay.
But he became that, and he created that group from being on tour with Maurice Starr, with New Kids on the Block, and all these different groups. He had New Edition, New Kids on the Block, Perfect Gentleman. And my father, naturally coming out of the Bronx, came home and made a Latin version of it.
Oh, wow.
He handpicked the guys, and I'm talking about these boys were singing, dancing Latin and English.
Wow.
So for me, at about 8, 9 years old, when I went and spent summers with my father, we'd be on tour with Selena. I didn't know who Selena was. We'd be on, jets and all this lifestyle that I'm like, man, it's so different when we were daddy.
Yeah.
Then we come back home and it's like, mama fight. She tells you taking a shower too long. I'm like, it's so. What made this so different?
Right.
But it's the industry. So yeah, my pops, man, he introduced me to the music business.
Okay.
Early.
And you were talking about how you had firsthand access. Being around. Was this the influence of Jovan Dais musically? So
musically, my mother always challenged me to sing.
Okay.
Right. She sung and she always sang around the house. But she would always. I was the son that. Me and mom was tight. I was the second born. So I was always around. I was a sickly child. So always asthma, meningitis. It's been a lot of stuff early as an infant that they said I was fighting. I have no memory of it except for asthma. I currently have asthma. But the meningitis and all the things they had to go through as teenagers having me at 19, man, it just, so it made me cling to my mother. But I moved to Atlanta at 7 years old.
Okay.
And my father still stayed in New York, but we would go visit him.
Okay.
And when we did during the summers, and it was so different to see how musicians lived, see how their families lived. And I had to ask myself now as an adult, what did you get in this for? And my number one reason I got into this was to take care of my family, right? The way that I seen them taking care of theirs.
Okay.
So at the time, music I thought was the way to do that. So I'm like, man, all right, sign me up. And that was a little bit. And then one day, my father he introduced me to the boys, Jabbar, Hakeem, Bilal, Down My Heart.
Wow.
So I was with them, and now it's different being with people your age range and on tour versus being on tour with these. I was on tour with Guy, Teddy Riley.
Wow.
My father had me around now what we would call legendary producers and musicians.
Right.
But I didn't know who they were. But he also always had me around the bosses, right? So for Guy, he had me around Gene Griffin.
Okay.
For New Kids on the Block, it was Maurice Starr.
Wow.
You talking about the person writing and producing the records. And he always had me around these guys, and I got to see their lifestyle. And more than I saw the musicians' lifestyle, I saw the executives.
Okay.
And I'm like, man, what we got to do?
So was the first love to be actually an executive or an artist?
It was to be involved.
Okay.
Right? Just
Yeah.
to be involved. I love singing, but when I listen to singers that really sing, I be like, I don't sing like that. Like I always admire somebody that can sing. To me, one of the best singers of our time is Jasmine Sullivan, right? That's
absolutely.
a singer.
Yeah.
Right? She can mumble something that'll make you just like, all right.
Yeah.
So me, coming from the Bronx, it was hip hop and R&B all the time. It wasn't like this mesh that came later. It was always, my mama had me on Marvin Gaye. My father always had us on. He was a DJ back in the day, so he always had us on. It was just we was involved. So I just wanted to be involved any way that I could. And one thing my mother taught me though, she's like, if you don't mind, it don't matter. And I had to grow into understanding what that meant. I translated that to, you can do anything you want to do, right? If you don't mind the work, if you don't mind the work ethic, if you don't mind the sacrifice, if you don't mind the years, if you don't mind the tutelage, the time, oh my gosh, if you don't mind, it's a lot, right? But if you don't mind, it doesn't matter. And so I translated that into everything. When I find myself falling short, I think of, if you don't mind. Sometimes that done been in some of the toughest sessions with some of the biggest names. Sometimes I've been an engineer for years. I was Keisha Cole's engineer for years over at Interscope, helping doing vocal production. Yeah. It was different, just being in the right place. My father taught me always show up, right? Always show up. And I took it for granted a lot. But now, if somebody calling this an opportunity or something, I always remember, humble yourself and show up. Showing up is very important. You can supersede people that they can be better than you in every way, but they could be late.
Wow.
You feel me?
Yeah.
If you late and I'm on time, I might not have your skill set, but man, my disposition, my attitude, my demeanor, my work ethic, I'm gonna supersede you. So what got me into it was wanting to be involved, and then I got involved in so many different aspects. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Knowing you for years, musically, we did a project together.
Yep.
Rhythm and Streets.
Rhythm and Streets. You introduced me to my brother Ryan Leslie.
Yeah.
And Ryan Leslie, again, that's one of the moments you in the studio with somebody that got more understanding than you. Ryan Leslie let me have it in the studio. It was nothing fun about being in the studio with Ryan Leslie because he was so talented.
Right.
And here I was, this guy that was used to writing and producing and recording myself, so I was stuck in my ways, which was a crooner.
I got you.
Right?
Yeah.
Now I'm older, I that's what I am. I make art. That's what I studied, that's what I love, that's what I love to do. I'm a crooner. But when you're 19 and 20, a record label don't want you to be a crooner. So they're putting you with people the likes Biddy, actually put me with Ryan Leslie through y'all. And man, Ryan, I hated the song we did. I hated Fashion Type. I hated it.
I love that song to this day.
That's the #1 streaming song for me, right? But I hated it. But he challenged me the whole session. And he, what he would keep saying while we was recording? Damn, you slow. Damn, you slow. Damn, you slow. And he's talking about my attack on it. Everything was this real, but it's from R&B and crooning and trying to, having that voice. And Ryan put me on an up-tempo record that had me in the pocket that I wasn't familiar with, right?
Yeah.
And then in the middle of him singing the line, he'd get up and spin around and do a dance move. You'd be like, man, this guy here is so Ryan Leslie to me is one of the greatest. He's exceptionally talented, but he's smart in general. So a lot of people that I know that are smart and talented, they can be that in anything.
Yeah.
I think music was his, technology was his. He was doing that super phone way before people was talking about peer-to-peer. And, so shouts out to Ryan Leslie and to Cloud9 for put me in that orbit
Yeah.
to even be around that type of greatness because
Yeah.
it taught me a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
So I remember I seen you perform, and you talk about work ethic, and this is the thing that I noticed and you were a brand new artist. I watched your stage presence and your performance. I mean, you came out with the guitar.
Yeah.
You had costume changes.
Yeah.
You
You know, I always had to come up with something extra because I wasn't a dancer. I always had to, and I'm a realist. So
That's funny because that I wouldn't have resonated that just watching your show.
It's real simple. Like
Yeah.
in the hip hop world of things, I can move to a beat and vibe, but I'm not a dancer. So I've never learned the choreography and none of that because my mother made it very clear early on. She said, "You got the voice, your brother got the rhythm."
Yeah.
But she was being honest, as moms are, especially coming out of the Bronx. Mine was singing, and so when I signed with Biddy and Cloud9, I was like, "Yo, I want to do guitar lessons," you know,
Yeah.
and they paid for that.
Wow.
And I learned this skill set. And where I went wrong is I wanted to just know how to play my music. Instead of learning the guitar, I wanted to learn my songs because I wanted to learn faster.
Right.
And that helped me for a little bit. But then I was able to take my chords and make new songs, and I started, delving a little more into it. But there's people that can play the guitar, and then there's people like me that I can mess around.
Yeah.
I always still have a guitarist near. If I'm doing a show because it's night and day.
Yeah.
And playing and singing is a task.
Yeah.
Respect to the people that can play and sing.
Yeah. The multitasking at the top. Yeah.
What's going on in your brain while you trying to hold the pressure right on those strings and hit your notes right and not be flat, not be sharp, and remember the words, in my case, it's a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's a lot going on. So now when I look at other people play, I notice, okay, when they into the verse, they not playing as much, right? When they get to the hook, they are, because it's more sing-along time, you know. But when it's intricacies in it, runs and texture, man, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So practice. I always respect the people that practice, and you can always tell who practice. Right. It's night and day. So I'm a fan of practice, and just a fan of learning. So when they gave me the opportunity to go do guitar lessons, did it in a heartbeat. This older white gentleman taught me, and we'll be playing, and he teaching me stuff. But in the middle of him teaching me this basic stuff, he'll hit a jazz chord just because it was natural to him. Like, oh, boom. And I'm like, hey, what's that? He'd be like, oh, no, that's E minor. You're not ready for E minor flat.
Wow.
I'm like, whatever that is, I want to know that. The way that made me feel, I need to know that. But for me, music has always been how it made me feel, right? So that's where it changed for me from wanting to be in it for the money and the business to, man, certain chords will grab your heart.
Right.
And I don't care if you man or woman, it'll break you down.
Yeah.
So that's what kept me in it.
Jovan Dais is in the building. Of course, this is Rhythm and Streets.
Yes, sir.
Now, being in the music industry, being an artist, you evolved. You talked about engineering for Keisha Cole.
For sure.
You also have a production company. You're responsible for the 50 Cent song.
Well,
Have a Baby.
Yeah, now I'm not responsible for it,
But that was part of your company,
I was in
correct?
but I was in the right place at the right time.
Talk to me.
Because I showed up.
Talk to me.
Right? So
Well, you did the hook.
I did the hook.
Yeah.
I'm singing the hook on Baby by Me. And it's funny because I was at Interscope with a partner of mine, Hot Sauce.
Shout out Hot
Ghost.
Sauce.
Yeah. So Ghost is killing it right now. A lot of records out. But we have a production company together. And I traveled with him to LA. He was out there working with Polo and with Interscope. And I traveled with him out there as a partner. I didn't do anything on production. I don't produce like that. I create from the guitar and make songs, but pulling out beat machines and producing and making records, that's not my strength. But it is Hot Sauce strength. That's what he does. Every genre of music. I've seen it over and over again.
Wow.
Every genre. Very few people you can see and be like, so he's exceptional with that. And because how tight me and him are, and I promise, I said, when I do this today, it's a lot of stuff that I've been quiet about. But I think people need to know the truth of what's going on behind the scenes. I was at Interscope with Hot Sauce, and I was Hot Sauce engineer, and he's also my brother, friend. But when we got to Interscope, they didn't need me to be an engineer because they had several that Berkeley graduates much better than me. Again, I dabble in things, and then I keep it pushing.
Right.
So these other engineers were much better than me, and so they wouldn't let me in the studio. They made me sit in the lobby.
Really?
If I'm not mistaken, Polo. They wanted me to sit in the lobby.
Okay.
Because I was always interested in the business. If my partner's in there producing all these records, I'm interested in knowing credit, split sheets, things of that nature. And I knew not to do it in the middle of being creative. But when records are done and completed and being mixed and mastered, I was the guy saying, where are the split sheets? Where's the credit? Where's this? Where's that? And so it was like, hey, Jovan can't come in here no more, right? He cannot come in here.
No, but
so,
you put that hat on.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's what most artists negate, and
Right.
that's the business. And I had to think about it. My father always wanted me to learn the business. I always was in love with singing. I loved how the girls scream when you got on stage. I'm like, dog, that's sign me up for life, right? But if the business isn't right, it's going down. We see now, and this was, 20 years ago, my father made me understand and learn the business, the power of publishing, the power. He was introducing me to Sylvia Rones and my good friends Monty Littman and his brother Avery, and I mean, he had me around these boys that was. I did not know at the time what Universal Republic was and the power that they had. I didn't know Sylvia Roane at the time. I just know she was a good friend of my father's. I know we sent her flowers on her birthday. Katina Bynum out of Universal that was doing all the cash money. He'd have me show up and sing happy birthday, sing this, sing that. And I never knew. I just knew how to be ready. He always taught me, be ready, be ready, be ready. We got a lot done by me being ready to sing happy birthday.
Nice.
By me doing the simple stuff that he would remind me of, right? He'd call, click on three-way, hey, it's Katina's birthday. As soon as they click and say hello, hit it. Happy birthday. And that was our formula. That's how me and my father bonded with him being in another state. He'd call me. Sometimes it was executives on the phone. A lot of times it was women. Just random women. I didn't know who they was. And now I got older, I'm like, oh, you was utilizing your son to get, it made him look good. But it trained me to be able to go. Yeah. So yeah, man, he introduced me to it. Introduced me to the Troy Taylors at 18.
Shout out,
right?
Yeah.
Dallas Austin at 9 years old. I don't know who Dallas was at the time, but when I was in the studio with Dallas and Joyce Irby, they was like, sing this, and I was like, I really wasn't tripping. I wasn't in it like that.
Yeah.
I liked, the energy of it all. I liked being around it. Dallas, I like being in the studio back in the day. I was young.
Right.
And my father come and drop us off. It wasn't no coming and hanging around. He come and drop us off, and I just be in the studio with Troy Taylor, and he like, let me hear what you wrote.
Yeah.
And I write something, Troy would come and get the paper, and will read all of my words, but sing it differently, and it made it exceptional. I'm like, sheesh. How is but now I understand it's the time that he put into it. Still to this day.
Yeah.
It's the time he put into them backgrounds and arrangements and the production and all of that stuff, man. So I've been around greats for a long time. Baby by Me, they had me sitting outside the studio, and then one day they came outside and said, hey, we need you to sing this hook real quick, but we're going to take you off of it. That's how it was presented to me. I'm like, man, but again, show up.
Yeah.
I went in there. I let my pride go to the side of how I felt because I couldn't be in the room. And I sung the part that 50 did. He rapped it initially. And I just sung on top of it an octave. It's funny. I did what I normally do and what I've been preparing to do all my life on every song.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The harmonies, the arrangements, what part I'm going to do in unison, all that, ad-lib tracks. And I never forget being in the studio, and the engineer was slow for me because I'm an engineer. So I'm like, hey, I messed up seconds ago. I need this. Matter of fact, let me engineer myself. And now the studio that I couldn't be in, everybody had to get out because I needed to do my part, and I was faster doing it myself. And I did Baby by Me, and they told me, they said, we still got a few different people working on it. Neo was one of them. And Neo's ended up being the main single that was released. I always think, like, man, I was that close to having to be on a video with 50 Cent, right? I'm like, man. But I never forget when 50 came in the studio, and he said, that's you singing on there? I'm like, yeah. And I thought if I was going to see 50 Cent, he'd be showing up with a bunch of goons. And no, 50 Cent was with dudes with suits on, and they all looked like they had some business about themselves.
Hold up, you got
It's a little fly.
Yeah,
He
it's a
trying
fly.
it. Well,
Yeah.
what the hell?
Yeah, this fly is.
Wow.
Yeah,
Now,
I ain't want you.
It's okay now. When we got a fly, it makes me wonder where it comes from.
No,
in the
don't worry.
restaurant.
Like I'm gonna edit that.
No, it's okay. Leave the fly. Speaking of the fly, shouts out to Willie the Kid.
That's funny. Shout out my man Willie.
Willie the Kid.
Yeah.
The Fly. Man, we made so much dope music together. It was a time in my life, and I'm kind of backtracking. I went to school here in Atlanta. I went to college for carpentry and I wanted to learn how to build recording studios.
Right. That's what I wanted to get into.
I come into that with Willie because, I see a lot of stuff that he's building right now, but he always was such an encourager and such a positive spirit.
Yeah.
We made a lot of records in that studio over there. That studio I ended up giving to Toomp. That studio, right. Over there off Metropolitan, it was so special. It was my first studio. But yeah, I know I jumped into that, but Willie the Kid, man, he was,
Shout out Willie.
Anytime I had a record, I was like, man, maybe we got too many songs with Willie, but every time it was like, nope, I like this one too.
No, y'all had a very good chemistry.
We had a good chemistry.
Yeah.
So shout out to him. And if it wasn't for the affiliates,
right,
we would have never clicked like that, man. So shout out to y'all. Y'all lined it up for us.
In the building.
Yes, sir.
Jovan Dais. Now you talked about studios. Now this is another gift because this man wears many hats. You built your own studio. You build podcasts. You still build to this day. You built this restaurant with your own hands.
For sure.
Dive into that, man, where that skill came from.
As a kid, I dreamed of being an architect, but I was a little crazy. I wanted to be an architect that designed roller coasters. So Sean, to tell you, my older brother, I had so many drawings of roller coasters.
That's crazy.
I still want to design roller coasters.
I'm not mad at that though.
It's to me this was the ultimate expression of life.
Yeah.
Going up and down those hills, and if you think about it, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You started off, you got your hands up, and you ready, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you can enjoy that loop with your hands up. Sometimes you better hold on for dear life.
Yeah.
Even though it's some safety there.
Right.
So I always dreamed of building. I always was interested. As a young man, I always used my hands. I was the young son in the family that if something broke, if something needed to be fixed, my mother would call me, and I always was handy. Meeting Scott's father taught me lefty loosey, righty tighty. So that's why I respect it takes a village. My father didn't build, right? But Scott's father did. Scott I met at 6 years old, 7 years old here in Atlanta. So he taught us. He was teaching his own son, but I was around, right? So I got to learn. And I went to everybody when we graduated high school. My brother went to Morehouse. All my brothers go to all these higher education. My family said, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm not going back to no college." I didn't like school at all. I felt very constrained. I felt like and then I had to participate because I didn't want to be considered dumb. But I didn't like it at all. And now there are different types of schools for people like me.
Right.
If I would have known there was a Full Sail, I would have been in there. I would have been the best music engineer and mix mastering guy ever right now because those are the people who have longevity in this industry.
Right.
It's the guy that's mixing and mastering records. So young people, it's so many different people. So many people want to be in front of the camera. There's so much money that it got nothing to do with that. That's needed forever. I know people 70 years old still mixing and mastering records. So I just want to say that because I didn't know that, and that wasn't no information that the Alvin Spites of the world, the Leslie Brathwaite, God bless Alvin. He's gone to the next level of this thing, but he taught me a lot by observing. He was very, very in tune. I met him early, so he was a friend of mine up until the end. But it's so many different avenues. So I went to college. I went to Atlanta Technical College on a whim, even though I didn't want to go to college. I had kids young. So I had my first daughter at 19. I went and put myself on child support because I had a lot of back and forth with me and the baby mother at the time. And I was like, you know what? I didn't like that she had that over me, right? Anytime she could threaten, I'm going to do this. And as a young person, I was terrified. So I was like, man, forget it. One day I went and put myself on child support. And this is where my life changed, right? When I walked into that office, it was nothing but black mothers that worked there. Our mothers that's in there working. And they said, young man, men don't even come here. So for you to come, she's like, you know what? We got something for you. I'm like, what? You want to go to school? I'm like, nah, I hate school. She's like, you don't want to go to, it's something you want to do. I said, all I want to do is build recording studios. She said, we could send you to school for carpentry.
Wow.
And that sent me to Atlanta Technical College for carpentry.
Wow.
Free.
Wow.
Free. Yep. So another, for what seemed like it was bad, was one of the biggest blessings in my life.
Wow.
I thank my daughter's mother to this day because that opposition made me go be great.
Wow. Wow.
And I hated it at the time. I hated how it felt to not have the type of relationship I wanted with my daughter. I hated feeling like I had to pay, outside of taking care of her as a dad is supposed to do. I didn't like, and now we see it. It's all coming to light everywhere, right? And the law has changed. In Atlanta or in Georgia, the law was if you had a child out of wedlock, you didn't have rights as a father. I didn't know nothing about that, but no rights mean you don't have no say-so, but you can pay. You got to pay, you got to sign his birth certificate, and you're responsible, but you have to legitimize the child. So I learned so much early, and this is while I'm singing and making music and making records and all that stuff. But that's where I got into carpentry. I made more money in carpentry than anything else in my life.
Wow.
1,000%.
Wow.
I built recording studios for Keisha Cole. We did T.I. Expeditiously Studio. We did Sessions Atlanta. We did Troy Taylor Studio. And I got a solid team. So we build a lot of studios, podcast rooms. We build the furniture for the rooms. We built this restaurant. We pay attention to the acoustics and the soundproofing.
Let me tell you something about this restaurant.
Yes,
this restaurant is state of the art.
Man.
I mean, you got this piano, this beautiful stage. Like, this man built this place.
Man.
Like, I watched you build this thing, man. I've known you for years.
Man. And it's to be documented so that people, and that's what, today I was like, what, let's be clear. Uh-oh, the fly.
The fly
is said he part of the interview. I just wanted to be clear about how much it takes a team to execute, to get things done. Where I'm strong, my two partners aren't. And where they're strong, I am not, right?
Yeah.
Debo is very strong with financials, right? When I say, hey, D, I want to build a restaurant, he said, all right, what you need to do it. Now, this is us as grown men. He asked me that same question when we was 12. I said, hey, D, I'm trying to play baseball, and my mama said she don't have the $40 for me to sign up. And I wasn't asking him for the money. I was just venting one day. And the next day, he came to school with the money. And we young, we don't got that. I'm like, yo, I don't know where he got it from, but he's like, man, here, man, you go play baseball, right? And the following day, his stepdad came and said, did he give you money? I said, yeah. He said, for whatever reason, whatever type of rapport y'all got, he took money off our dresser to give to you.
Wow.
And man, we've been solid ever since. So that's who I built this with. Debo, Scotty. Scott is very good administrative-wise. This place wouldn't run without Scott. Scott,
shout out Scotty.
Man, shout out Scotty. We got some wings named after him too. Scotty Too Hottie.
The Scotty Too Hotties.
Scotty Too Hottie. That's one of the favorites.
That's one of my favorites.
That's a good flavor here.
Yeah.
But Scott is has a lot of discipline, right? Scott's married, 2 children. But what I see him deal with on a daily basis from his regular job as a radiologist and being a father,
crazy.
And then coming here,
crazy.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So I always look at people around me. That's a different type of strength. I'm strong in some areas. Like if you need me to lock in for 16 hours and get something done with my hands, I can do it. My mind can lock in. But, what I see him going through as a father that's there every day, I wasn't like that every day. My kids came on the weekends because I wasn't married. I wasn't in a relationship like that. But it's a lot. It's a lot. This restaurant world, man, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And we jumped into this after we had, I had a rap artist by the name of Asian Doll that we signed, right?
Yeah.
So Asian Doll.
We didn't even get into your management
the music.
company.
Man, it's so many things, but it all stems, one leads to the other.
Yeah.
So the reason that we're sitting in the restaurant right now is because after my last record deal that I had with an artist was an Asian Doll. And after that, I'm like, I always wanted to know that we had what it took to create a product that people wanted. So at some point, I had to decide, you got a little bit of money. You gonna put it into you as an artist, or are you gonna put it into what the market is calling for? And at that time, it was female rappers. Right?
Yeah.
And I was doing a photo shoot with Middleman. Shout out the middleman.
Shout out
right?
middleman. Yeah, yeah.
Styling me, him and Reno forever. And his assistant was like, hey, there's this rapper from Texas that you need to meet. I can't trust her with nobody else other than you.
Wow.
She was 16, 17 at the time.
Wow.
Asian doll. When I met her, I was like, what am I gonna do with this? Right? Very rough around the edges. Her videos, it was all these guns and all this. I'm like, man, you know, from Dallas, Texas. And I'm like, I don't know what, I don't know what to do with this.
Right.
But I prayed about it, I thought about it, and what changed my mind, and this is the truth. One day I had her meet me at Main Event, the little bowling alley, little, you know, recreation place off Cobb Parkway here in Atlanta. And I seen a little girl run up to Asian doll and start crying. Girl had to be about 9 years old. And when I saw that, I'm like, you gotta do something. I didn't know young girls, you know, I just thought it was trap and rap. In my world, that's dangerous. Like,
Right.
you don't want to be around it.
Right.
But when I saw the little girl, I was like, man, gotta do something. So we signed Asian Doll. And I thought Asian Doll brought a lot to the table. She did a lot of work for herself. So instead of signing her, I created a company with her. So it was Beecher Boys / Doll Gang. And made her boss. Not a fake boss.
Right.
A real boss.
Right.
With real interest, 50% to be exact. I wanted her to win. We did the Asian Doll thing. We ended up getting this record with Bad Baby that took us on tour that we had to pay for. We had to pay for our own tour, but we understood the value of it.
Right.
After that, we had a lot of different deals on the table. One of them at the time, of course, I took it back to Monty Littman. I took it to Daryl Jones over at Atlantic. That's a good friend. Shout out to Daryl Jones. But ultimately, it was up to her. And she wanted to go with Gucci Mane. You know, Sylvia Rome put a nice deal on the table.
Wow.
From Epic Records. Really, really good deal. So when I got to see that side of the game, I was like, man. And then this one thing blew my mind. We were in a meeting at Universal, and Monty Littman said to me, I played him all this dope R&B music. It wasn't even me. I was, at this point, I'm in my executive mode. I got artists. And he's like, Jovan, I love these records. He said, these are good. He said, but you know what good is in competition with, right? I'm like, no, what? He's like, great. I was like, okay, that makes sense. He said, do you have anything ratchet? And when I heard that question, it forever changed me and how I felt about the business. Because I had just signed Asian Doll, and I wasn't even in there pitching her. I was pitching my R&B stuff. As far as I'm concerned, she wasn't ready yet. I didn't groom her. I didn't make no records. And I pulled up her video with the sound off, and he saw her with the AR in her hand and saw that it had a couple million streams. And he said, now, Jovan, that I'm interested in. And I thought it was a joke till the next day he presented me with a offer.
Wow.
And I had never been presented with an offer. I done came in this office so many times, right? So to be presented with an offer for that at the time blew my mind, right? Because I'm like, man, you know, we working backwards then, right? They wanted what the culture was currently, you know, it was this ratchet, you know, and that wasn't my vibe at all as a person, as a businessman. I'm in the business to play the game. So we signed Asian Doll. We did it with Gucci Mane. It was short-lived. It did a little bit of noise, but ultimately we let her be in the driver's seat. She wanted to leave, we left. She wanted to change, she left. Because I wasn't committed to just being an executive, right? I loved it. I enjoyed knowing that we got what it takes to do it. That was enough for me. Being on 50 Cent's song, it was enough for me. I always wanted to know if I was good enough. I'm in here with 50, I'm good enough. I'm in here engineering Keisha Cole, I'm good enough. But then it turned into me wanting to be in the rooms to building the rooms. And this is where...
So everything was like a step.
Everything
was leading to something.
It was all leading to something. And I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you I don't get joy out of building. Right? The joy of creating something from nothing. Right? When I look on Troy Taylor's page and I see all these artists in the room that I built, I'm so delighted. I'm so happy. I don't never need to make a song in that room. For all the people that's coming through there, because I'm building it with love and care. So it's everything. The wiring is premium. The acoustics premium. The best. you know, everything that I can do to make it the best because I know that the best is coming in here. You know, so that's that. So it translated from doing that and having it at recording studios to wanting to do it for everybody. That's what the restaurant falls into play, right? It's like I want to design this place for the best to come.
Right.
They've come through the doors. You bring a lot of them through the doors. You being here, this is a place that nobody wanted. Nobody wanted this building.
Wow.
I'd pull up at night at 1 a.m. and just sit across the street and look at it. Just look and envision and think and think and think and pray. And you know, because we were looking for buildings in Buckhead and looking, you know, man, we had to learn. They wouldn't even let us see the inside of a building in Buckhead if we didn't show 300 grand in the account.
Wow.
It's a different game.
Yeah, yeah.
Over here, they don't take care of the building, so anybody can get it. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, so we landed in College Park, and it's interesting because here we learn the value of community. This is important.
Yeah.
It's more important for us to be over here than Buckhead. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
We shut the street down on Juneteenth.
Exactly.
And have nice events for the kids.
Yeah.
And so for me, man, it's like I'm so outside of what I thought I wanted, you know, and more into what God has. When He wake me up and give me the energy and the enthusiasm to go build, I go build. You know, if He gives me the enthusiasm to write a song, I go write a song. You know, I still love writing songs. I still love making music. But more than any of that, I love helping other people, which leads me to the next thing, Dallas Austin distribution.
Talk about it.
So you talking about somebody I met at 9, 10 years old. I worked for a distributor by the name of 1RPM, who I had Asian Doll signed to. And I'm like, yo, y'all need to break into the Atlanta market. If the number one, I got to see behind the scenes now. Number one genre of music is hip hop. You know, they make it hip hop and R&B. It's hip hop. That's number one. How is that number one and you don't have an office in the area that's huge for hip hop?
Right.
Atlanta right now, right? And, you know, the owner was like, okay, let's open up an office there. I'm like, now, this is not just an office. This got to be a hub. I need recording studios. I need a place that they can come and migrate the artists. You know, this is Atlanta. And I said, but it's two people I need to introduce you to. One was Dallas Austin, and the other one was T.I., which is family. And Dallas wanted his own distribution arm. Like, hey, I want to come through y'all, but I want my own thing, imprint, essentially. And the owner didn't want to do that like that. But Symphonic did, right?
Yeah.
So Dallas went and did a deal with Symphonic, and then he brought me in and told me, hey, I need somebody like you to help me run it. And so I left 1RPM and I went to Symphonic with Dallas. And now Dallas, man, he's so creative. You talking about, you know, he's a musician. So now you got a music distribution company that a musician runs. I don't know of another one. Right? He cares beyond streams. He cares. He's a musician. It's Dallas Austin.
Yeah.
He produces every genre. You know, so I never take that for granted sitting in the room with him. You get caught up in it and forget. Like, nah, this man can do every genre of music and he does it well and he did it young. You feel me? You talking about 18 with Ferraris and Porsche. Like, Dallas did it early. Jermaine did as well. But Dallas, to me, was different because he did multiple genres. So he gonna do Gwen Stefani. He gonna do Creek for TLC. And I'm talking about when he do it, you go look at these credits yourself. It's got produced by, written by, arranged by. Same thing I see for Troy Taylor. You know, same thing you see with the greats. That's far-fetched, man. You know, we take it for granted, the R. Kellys, right? But the talent, you go look at You're Not Alone and see who wrote it, produced it, who arranged it, who did this, it's him. It's him, it's Dallas, it's Troy. It's these guys that are exceptional. And so just to be in their company it's been tremendous for me, man. So studio building, restaurant building, music distribution. And since I'm coming back around to making music.
Talk to me.
I love it.
Yeah. What we got coming?
I cannot fight. I got studios in my house, of course, right? So when something wakes me up and say, go record it, I go record it. Shout out to my brother SL. SL, man. This
amazing
guy, amazing producer, arranger. So now I understand that it's not all about me, right? As a musician, I start records, I start writing, I bring in other writers. I got a great writer that I write with a lot, Robin Nicole. She's super dope. Ayetealle is super dope. Hot Sauce is super dope. You know, it's a team. I learned that the restaurant make you learn you cannot, as much as I like doing it by myself if I have to, I can't be the cook, the host, the bartender, the server, the DJ, the man controlling the sound, the doorman. I can't be all of that.
Right.
So here, it makes you respect the team and build a solid team. And in the music industry, me coming back into it, it's that all over again. It's just having those solid pieces around me, and it's interesting. The people I always wanted to get records from, and it's not a conversation no more. I built your room. Right?
Yeah.
And not that you owe me nothing because you paid me well for the room.
Right.
But we got a different rapport now. We got a different relationship. The love I put into building it, they have to feel it every day because it's there. You know? So that's the difference. Sure, there's other studio builders, other carpenters, other restaurateurs. It's how I make my staff feel. I'm with you.
Right.
I'm in this with you.
Yeah.
I'm here every day. I'm here to help. I'm not, they be like, hey, boss. I'm like, that's not even, you know, like, I don't think of it as a boss as much as I think of a leader. And I'm only here to lead until you don't need me. Once you don't need me, I'm off to the next thing.
Right.
Like I came into the restaurant, like I came into the studios, like I came into singing, like I came into being an executive.
Right.
It's once I, you know, for me, it was wanting to get somebody up through there. Once I got Asian Doll up through there, I was good. I'm like, and people say, yo, what did it take? Everything. Everything.
Teamwork.
Teamwork,
dream
every
work.
dime, every creative way to, all right, we made it to this city. We need a hotel room for 4 people. You know, we got to use the money we made off merch last night for that. You know?
Yeah.
Who doing the merch? I am. As soon as we finish the show, run to the merch table.
Right.
Right? It's so many things, and I'm into technology, so it was so many pieces that involved the technical aspect that it's like by the time I have to pay somebody and teach them and this, I'm better off doing it, you know? I never forget, we started tour with Asian Doll. I hired a driver. The first night, he crashed the van trying to go through an overpass. So I had to send him home. Guess who became the driver?
You.
I became the driver. You know how I feel riding around San Francisco, around these little hills and stuff with 9 souls in the back sleep.
Right.
It's a great responsibility.
Yeah.
So for me, so many things have become more spiritual than what I thought I was in it for.
Right.
You know, the money, the girls screaming, none of that matters. What matters is the 14-year-old I met and told him to go to Full Sail, and now he's my head mix and master engineer because he's back and he's grown now. He came to me one day, he said, you remember me? My man Trey, Mixed by Trey. I was like, a little bit. He's like, I came to you when I was 14, me and my mother, and you told her to send me to Full Sail. I went, I graduated, I'm back.
Nice.
That's who mix all my records.
Wow.
That's who run my studios.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So it's those things now. It's the pouring into them. My daughters pouring into them, giving them opportunity. We have our own business. What you want to do in it? I think you could run this. If one of them say, hey, Dad, I want to go put an ATL in Miami. From being here, I know that you understand what to do.
Nice.
You know, so this is what it's about for me now. Of course, I got some more music coming. I can't stop. I love it. It's R&B. It's real R&B. And the difference now since is I'm not counting on it to survive. And I did before. That's
nice.
You know, and I know a lot of artists, this whole starving artist thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a starving artist. If you need to go work while you still pursuing this thing, my bad. If you need to work. If you need to still, you have to, because your mindset has to be together to create, right? You can't be in there hungry and waiting for somebody to come give you an alley-oop. No, you might have to dunk it yourself. You know, my old manager, Rodney Turner, he always say, man, opportunity don't always knock. Sometimes you got to kick in the door. You know, sometimes you got to go. And that's what Rodney was great at. So him and Manny are doing film now. Manny used to manage me. That's how I became Keisha Cole's engineer.
Nice.
He managed me. He opened up so many doors for me. So again, team. Now they do films.
Yeah.
He like, yo, we need songs for the film.
Right.
Boom. You know, that's easy.
Yeah.
But I'm looking into film now. I like telling. I just like being creative, man. So for me, it's building, it's recording, it's having an artist and getting them together. Yeah. It's it's nonstop. And I don't, every day, man, I be waking up with more and more. Now I'm on this. What's been burning in my mind is building a boutique hotel. And putting ATL on the roof. Nice. This has been the reoccurring dream and thought. And typically when that is happening for me, it's happening for me. Nice. It's in motion. So I just say to everybody that's no matter what the role is in the music industry, always pursue. I made more money engineering. And the scope paid me $600-700 a day for a 12-hour session with Keisha Cole. And y'all know Keisha, she probably showed up for 4 of those hours, and the rest of it, I got to be in the studio and work on what I wanted to work on, showing up. Again, man, all these little cliches and stuff that our parents taught us, and we hear in music, and man, if you can find a way to make them relevant to your life, it's a lot of jewels in there. We just did Atlanta Each just came and did a whole TV segment on us here. And everybody calls us a hidden gem, a hidden gem, a hidden gem. And yesterday, I attend Dale Bronner's church, a Word of Faith. Yesterday at church, he said, isn't it funny that a gem is always hidden? Isn't it funny that a diamond don't sit above ground? And it made me think of this place differently, right? Because we're not on Main Street where all the other restaurants are.
In College Park.
In College Park, right? We're on College Street, one street behind Main Street.
Right.
When they consider us a hidden gem. And it for a minute, it felt kind of like a negative connotation to it. People like, oh man, people got to find y'all. People got to find y'all. No, the right people got to find us, right? The right people coming here. It's a different crowd, right? We have a very mature crowd, diverse crowd. They don't want to be somewhere where the music's so loud you can't converse and enjoy. So it's grown and sexy. And some of it we did on purpose. Some of it just happened naturally, to me, it's God's will. We didn't know. We were just building a 12-seat bar.
Right.
Started building, COVID hit.
Right.
I'm to my second day of building. When COVID hit, it shut us down like it shut the rest of the world down. Our next door neighbor never came back. We grabbed her unit, made the hole in the wall, and now we got a dining room. The dining room made room for us to have an outdoor patio. So where we wanted a 12-seat bar, God gave us 100 seats.
Nice.
Right? So all I can do is keep showing up for these things and keep doing my part. Sometimes it's overwhelming. Right. But everything has been as we grow and get into it, man. And I'm just grateful now. It's different when you can sit in here with the lights on and the power and the AC, and we sitting in here on your podcast and we talking the talk. But I sat in the same position when it was nothing but dust on the ground.
Right.
Right?
So you see the fruits of the labor.
I see the fruits of the labor. And for me, the fruits are seeing people enjoy themselves. When I see people walking out of here and say, man, we had an amazing time on our birthday.
Yeah.
Man, this was awesome. Man, we bringing our mother back. Man, that's rewarding.
Yeah.
Sometimes people like, you the owner? And I be like, uh-oh. I don't want to say because I don't want to hear nothing bad.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, it's good. They like, yo, thank you for this.
Right.
Right? This is we can express ourselves, as a culture.
Right.
They love that, we're not limiting, if you wear a hat, wear your hat. Right. We have a dress code, but we're not crazy about it. It's still our culture, it's still our people, right? We just want to make sure you coming in here with the right mindset. So this has been a blessing for us, and I love that it's a blessing for other people.
Let them know address, social media.
Yes.
Let them know everything.
We are located. It's ATL, and that's AYETEAELLE. ATL Elevated Toppers. We located 3755 College Street. Right over here in College Park, Georgia. We've been here for 2 years now. I understand why they say some restaurants don't make it past this mark because it is a lot. But if you have the right team and you got the right people, and if you stay prayed up, man, I think that this is just a segue to what's next because everything has been. That's why we were just going through it. It's so much more details we can get into each of these things, but I think it's more important for young people to understand I've done so many different things, and each of those things I brought an attitude of gratitude towards it and brought my best self.
Nice.
Whether it was an engineer, I brought my A game. Whether it was a CEO of a company, and that required me to wear 10 hats, man, I'll do it. You know, if that means I can get the team across that end zone, brother, I'm the man diving over. I'm willing to take the hit. I'm willing, but will we score? Absolutely.
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 I seen it
Since, you know.
firsthand. This brother right here, man, one of the hardest working people I know. I'm happy to call
do
him
it.
my brother.
That's
I
right.
thank him for allowing us to do this podcast right here in this facility.
And congrats to you, brother,
Thank
because
you,
we
man.
talked about this
This was-
in its infant stages,
That's
and
right.
I love that you still going for it and
Yeah.
still doing it. Again, consistency is everything. We was just here, and Raheem Devon just left out
Yeah.
the door, right?
Right.
I mean, these are people, when I say greatness coming in the building, you know, you done had Raheem, you done had my boy Jazzy Faye, you done had Mario in here, a lot of up and coming talent. People, I mean, this is what this is about. It's bigger than ATL. It's bigger than myself.
Right.
It's giving opportunity to people that deserve it, because I know you're hand selecting people, and man, that to me is important to give back to the culture. And that's number one why we're here and why we're doing this. Everybody say you're gonna do a second location. I don't know if a second location as much as a new location that'll be bigger and better. But I don't know the how special it is to what's required to make one special. It requires us to be in the building. We're one, you know, I don't see how we split that.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of entities creating these restaurants. We didn't create no restaurant just to have a restaurant. First off, no grass wall, no neon sign. That wasn't the vibe. I wanted a place, first and foremost, that music could be represented in, right? And then a place that we can congregate, right? We're getting into a whole bunch of different stuff. We talked about gospel brunches. We talking about, you know, so this is a space that's to be used in multiple ways. But man, I'm excited about the next part, which is I want to bring gospel in the building. I want people to be able to, you know, I was speaking with one gentleman, he wants to do, they're younger people, but they love God, right? And they want to do an event that's at night. They don't want to serve liquor. They want mocktails, but they say it's so many of them that still just want to be in the vibe. And it's like, and this is perfect. And I'm like, it is perfect. You know, it's very much so perfect, and it's needed.
Yeah.
So we're in it for these things now, man. I just wanna be that light and be inspiration to young people. And yes, music is coming back. I'll never stop making it. It's just different. Of course, I'll be distributing it through Dallas Austin Distribution. If y'all get a chance, go to daddistro.com. Dallas has created this new thing called Share. He's fed up with artists not getting paid for streaming, right? This 0.004 cents and all that they're giving us, it's no good. So now he's created a thing called Share, which is peer-to-peer. You can buy my music and Apple Pay it right on your phone, and guess, I get the money instantly, first off, and I get to know who bought it. And you can't do that right now.
Nice.
You can't know who bought it. That's why I say it's similar to what Ryan Leslie was doing with the Superphone, but now it's just evolved. It's years later, probably 10 years later. But yeah, so that's what Dallas is doing now. I'm happy to be a part of that. And it's amazing, man. Dallas, he put together this deck, and it had him listed as the CEO. And then it was, because he had asked me for a picture in the bio, I didn't know what it was for. And then I look on there and it got me listed as the COO.
Nice.
And the first thing I thought was, God, I don't deserve to be next to him like this, right? Because of how I feel with what he's accomplished. You know, I'm like, man, I deserve this? and it shocks me, you know, but man, I'm grateful. You know, I take it and I bring my A game to it. Dallas always say, man, you know how to do everything. It's because I had to learn how to do everything. I had to learn how to engineer so I could make more of my own songs.
Right.
I had to learn how to build the studio so I could build myself one. But what I did for myself ended up being blessings to everybody else. And now I understand that's the fundament of life. It's what of service can you be to the next person.
I love it.
So doing this podcast here is
sir.
that.
Yes, sir.
Right? Hosting birthday dinners and all this stuff, man. It's just, It's a special building. It's a special building. So I'm grateful for it, brother.
Jovan Dais, my brother,
In
I
the building.
appreciate you, man. Of
Yes, sir.
course, appreciate the bars, the knowledge, the wisdom, this facility.
Yes.
Of course, you see what it is. Jovan Dais, TrendsetterSense.
Yes, sir.
Rhythm and Streets.
Trendsetter.